At what point when you stop being considered a young boy and considered to be a man? Is it at 18, 21, 25, 30? I'm just very curious about that. And a lot of people probably watching me asking this question saying, well, when you're 18, at the very oldest 21, right? However, when it comes to Nepo babies, the rules doesn't seem to apply to them. And the reason I say that, if you look at James and King Combs, a lot of the time when you see them being reported by the media, even by the YouTube media and YouTube blogs, you see them report to them as boys, as kids, but they're 30 and 26. They're grown men. They are old enough to vote, drink, and have lower rates on their insurance, and get a good deal on a rental car. They are old enough to have their own kids if they don't already do. I think James, man, I had to look that up again. But whenever people are reporting the actions of their father, they always say, you know, Diddy's kids, these kids, everything else. And I understand. They are Diddy's sons, but they are still grown men accountable for their actions. And at what point does it becomes their own choice? I understand their father may have had them around different situations, show them how to exploit, abuse women, get away from the law. I understand he may introduce them to drugs and all kinds of stuff. I understand all of that stuff. But everybody has a choice in life, no matter who or what you're around. There are plenty of people that have seen and been around horrible things, that grew up in clans, that grew up in cults, that have been in horrible families and relationships, but they had their own moral standing eventually. It chose something different. Now, these two men, I would never give a pass, especially since they have their own accusations on themselves, but yet they still act like they're teenagers with no accountability or responsibility, and we help support that in large. I will ask this: when is enough? When are these men going to be seen as men? Because I understand that P. Diddy grew with us. A lot of us were fans of Bad Boys and Bad Boys Entertainment in the 90s and 2000s, and we saw the company grow. We saw the heights and the loss of the making breaking albums and the death of Biggie and the Beast and everything else, right? So to us, our generations, you know, Generation X and the late millennials, we saw P. Diddy have his sons and they grow up, but as we get older, we gotta realize they are older and they have just as much responsibility and accountability as their father do, if not worse. Because I'm pretty sure there has been at least one person that has showed them something different, even if they didn't. We all have a moral conscience, some discernment to help us see differently and realize what we're doing is wrong. Nobody does anything, well, let me rephrase that. It's very rare when you have somebody that does something 100% wrong and they don't realize they're doing it wrong, especially when they have mothers that supposedly try to teach them differently. Now, I understand people are saying Kim Porter was also one of Diddy's victims. I understand that, and that very well could have been true. But also people say that Kim Porter was a very beautiful, kind-hearted woman that tried to teach her sons right from wrong. At least that's, you know, what I'm hearing. But people always seem to glorify when they're not here to defend themselves anymore. The same thing with Justice Mountain.
So many people have said that Kim Porter was such a warm and beautiful person, and that she would be ashamed of her son's actions and how he's been raised. Now, if all that is true, then that means that her son should know right and wrong. He should know what his mother has tried to taught him and the pain that he saw his mother go through if all the allegations has been true against Diddy. So that's another reason why I can't give this boy a pass, excuse me, this man a pass for his actions today, because he had at least one good parent in his life to show him right and wrong, to see the consequences of the actions of his father that are alleged out there. So no, if anything, it makes it worse for him to continue on in his father's footsteps to be a mini Diddy.
Now, on the 50 Cent side, Marquez, excuse me, a very entitled man. But if you notice something, whenever you hear about 50 Cent's son, they always refer to him as a man, especially when you suddenly hear whining and crying about child support, especially the $600 to $700 he was receiving a month, and telling him that wasn't enough to live on. when there are plenty of Americans that don't even make that in 2 months. But he's complaining about that in a month. When his father may not have been the most perfect man. And truthfully, when I was younger, I didn't like 50 Cent. I thought he was an ass. However though, as I grow and mature and I see him grow and mature, I have a lot of respect for him. How you go from the street into being a businessman and disciplining himself. Now that's unfortunate when it comes to 50 Cent's son. It seems like his father was kept away. His father could show him how to discipline himself as a man, to be a man. So unfortunately he had the guidance of his mother, and whenever you hear him talk, you hear him talk like a woman as a mother. But it's interesting. The young man that was guided and raised by his mother is being called a man, compared to P. Diddy's sons who were raised and guided by him are called kids. How does that work? You have one spoiled and entitled man that is called a kid who's 27, I want to say. 27 years old, still crying about his daddy's money. 27 years old, still begging. When 50 had tried to set him up with businesses, give him equity in some of his companies, but he just won't offer. He doesn't want to do anything. He's too entitled. Just because you look like your daddy doesn't mean you get to act like your daddy. Your daddy may have to go out here and troll and talk his mess, but he earned that. He has raised himself into a position to where he doesn't have to answer to really anybody, and he can say what he wants to and still be secured. And the stuff that he learns, the wisdom that he passes on, he has gave to a lot of other people. I'm pretty sure he directly gave it to you, especially considering he's giving out to strangers that he barely even knows. Whether you like 50 and his past actions, I can see him trying to raise people up around him directly or indirectly. I still remember the story of G-Unit when he was talking about them having their own shoe, and he saw how none of them was wearing their own shoes, and he just cut the deal because they didn't want to grow. They didn't want to listen and learn. So these men should be held as men, treated as men, talked about as men. They should never have the excuse of being called a boy, a child, in any way or circumstance. If you're old enough to produce a kid, smoke, drink, and have lower insurance, there is no reason for you to be called a child. It's an insult to him. It's an insult to every other black man out there. Not even this black man, this man in general out there that has to work hard from the time they're 18, first out of high school, and gotta make and grind it on their own. I even seen people who had means that had to make and grind out on their own. This us calling them kids is servicing all. Wow, I'm losing my train of thought. But since I'm losing my train of thought, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. You guys tell me what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe. Sorry if I'm talking a little loud, I'm losing my voice, but I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Thank you.